Let's take it back to the year 2001. The first Harry Potter film was taking the world by storm. The original iPod was released for the very first time, and too many of us were all singing, "Who let the dogs out? Who let the dogs out?" Meanwhile, back on the hardwood, 2001 saw individual talents emerge to define the league. We saw average players become stars, stars become icons, and icons become legends. Join us as we do a deep dive into this critical year in the NBA in the year 2001, a year in review. The Los Angeles Lakers were fresh off their first NBA championship victory, and life in LA couldn't be sweeter. With Kobe and Shaq taking some much needed time off, other NBA stars, headlined by Kevin Garnett, Vince Carter, and Jason Kidd, were in Sydney, Australia, looking to win gold for the United States. Team USA would end up winning gold, but the real iconic moment was when Vince Carter, after intercepting an outlet pass, raced to the rim, jumped over a 7-foot 2-inch center from France, and proceeded to throw down a thunderous dunk on his poor head. It was immediately labeled the dunk of death, and is widely considered the greatest, most famous, and probably most disrespectful dunk of all time. As the 2001 NBA season was gearing up, the Lakers were primed to go back-to-back, and pretty much everyone agreed. Shaq was just as dominant as he was last season when he won League MVP, and Kobe took the biggest step of his career in 2001. But ironically, this is where the core of the issue began. Kobe was ready to take over as the supreme leader in not just LA, but the entire league. He was on a mission to prove he was the league's best singular talent and the heir apparent to Michael Jordan, and Shaq was not pleased. In Shaq's mind, the Lakers, the NBA, Hollywood was all still his. Both Kobe and Shaq would take jabs against one another in the media. Kobe calling Shaq overweight and unfit to lead, while Shaq called Kobe selfish, egotistical, and not a team player. It would get awkward for the NBA champs, but the results on the court were undeniable. Shaq continued to dominate inside, Kobe was blossoming into the league's premier two-way guard, and no one seemed close to challenging their throne. The only thing standing between a back-to-back championship was themselves. Meanwhile, as the rest of the league was vying for a chance to steal the spotlight from the Shaq and Kobe Lakers, an improbable figure broke through the clutter to steal the spotlight. Miniature in size but gigantic in heart, tenacity, and sheer will, Allen Iverson was putting on an absolute show in Philadelphia. He was the epitome of everything the residents and city of Philadelphia represented. Hard work, no fear, and all heart. He was in a league filled with giants, but when the dust settled, he led the league in scoring and willed a pretty mediocre Sixers team to the best record in the East and more. The 2001 NBA season also saw the birth of one of the league's most exciting players of all time, Tracy McGrady. After spending the first 3 years of his career under Vince Carter's shadow in Toronto, he signed with the Orlando Magic in the offseason and catapulted himself into a top 5 talent in the NBA. And I mean that. In 2001, from a sheer talent perspective, it was Kobe, it was Shaq, it was AI, it was Duncan, and then it was T-Mac. He leapfrogged Vince Carter, Kevin Garnett, and Chris Webber this season. He took a pretty terrible injury-riddled Orlando team to a respectable 7th seed in the West, and in a landslide, he would win Most Improved Player. He also made his first of many All-Star selections in 2001. As All-Star Weekend approached, the East versus West game was looking like it was going to be a lopsided affair. The West looked too dominant. It featured the most dominant big men in the game today. Chris Webber from Sacramento, Tim Duncan from San Antonio, and Kevin Garnett from Minnesota, all on one team. Even with Shaq injured, you had those dominant bigs against a marginal at best Eastern Conference front court, which featured Antonio Davis, Anthony Mason, and Dikembe Mutombo. No one expected much, and by the time the fourth quarter got underway, it was already a 20-point lead for the West. And then, as fate would have it, and as Iverson had been doing all season long for Philly, he never lost that grit. He helped rally the East back with help from a strong defensive performance from Dikembe Mutombo and timely threes in the final minutes from Stephon Marbury. The East came roaring back to win the game in what is considered the last and greatest All-Star game in NBA history. Iverson went on to win the night's most lucrative prize, the All-Star Game MVP, and as you could probably imagine, he wasn't satisfied with just that. After All-Star Weekend, Iverson and his crew in Philly were continuing their improbable run in the regular season. One of the most underrated trades of the season took place in February 2001 when Atlanta traded Dikembe Mutombo to the Sixers, who were in desperate need of a big defensive anchor at the time as they eyed a run at the title. Later that year, Mutombo would go on to win Defensive Player of the Year. Sixers coach Larry Brown would go on to win Coach of the Year, and steady Sixers veteran Aaron McKie would go on to win Sixth Man of the Year. But the Sixers were still the Allen Iverson show, as he would go on to win League MVP, becoming the shortest and lightest MVP in league history, standing 6 foot, 160 pounds. He was wowing crowds day in and day out, reminding all of us that heart can beat out height every single night. He was becoming a phenomenon, not just on the court, but off the court as well. To recover from a right elbow injury that year, Iverson began sporting an arm sleeve, and as the years and decades passed, this arm sleeve would take on a whole new meaning. That arm sleeve would go on to become a fashion statement that is still prevalent in the NBA today. Think about all the players, both past and present, who wear arm sleeves now. Notably LeBron James, Carmelo Anthony, Kobe Bryant later in his career. It was Iverson in 2001 who brought this trend to the game first, and everyone else followed. This is just a mere microcosm of his effect on not just the league, but culture in general. Despite this endearing Philly story and Iverson's rise to dominance, the league was still run by the Lakers. And as the playoffs approached, it wasn't a matter of who would win the title, it was a matter of who would come in second place. In the East, the Toronto Raptors were looking to make some noise. Featuring Air Canada himself Vince Carter, Toronto met the Sixers in round 2 of the playoffs, and it was a battle of 2 of the best guards in the NBA, Iverson and Carter. They would exchange 50-point games against one another, each one showcasing his brilliance night after night. If it wasn't Iverson's relentless attacks at the basket on one night, then it was Carter's aerial assault and scoring prowess on the other. The series would come down to the final seconds, and unfortunately for Toronto, Carter would miss a very makeable game-winning jump shot to lose the series in 7 to Philly. The Milwaukee Bucks were also an underrated team in 2001 who made it all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals. The Bucks featured a very strong nucleus headlined by sharpshooter Ray Allen, steady floor general Sam Cassell, and big dog Glenn Robinson. Milwaukee had the horses to punch their ticket to the finals, but like he's done all season long, Allen Iverson would just not let up. The story in the Western Conference was less exciting. The Lakers were blazing through these playoffs at a historic rate, sweeping through Portland, Sacramento, and San Antonio. Even with San Antonio claiming home court advantage during the regular season, the Lakers were just too much. Everyone thought that the Spurs had somewhat of a chance because of their twin towers, Tim Duncan and David Robinson, balancing the dominance of Shaq, but the Spurs had no answer for Kobe. In Game 1 in San Antonio, Kobe ripped away San Antonio's soul with a 45-point masterpiece. The Lakers would go on to complete that sweep, which included a 39-point victory in Game 3 and a 29-point victory in Game 4. The finals between Philly and LA was looking like it was going to be a Lakers sweep also. Philadelphia had no answers for Shaq and no answers for Kobe. But what the Lakers, the NBA, and the entire world failed to realize in Game 1 was that the Lakers also had no answer for the answer, Allen Iverson. Game 1 of the 2001 Finals is considered the greatest upset in NBA history and is widely considered the greatest final performance by any one player. And as you can probably guess, that one player was Allen Iverson. The visiting Sixers outdueled the Lakers on their home court in an overtime shocker. Iverson was the best player on the court that night, finishing with 48 points. Amongst all of Iverson's iconic moments in 2001, none was more iconic than this.
Makes it 103.
After LA's Game 1 meltdown, unfortunately for Philly fans, that was it for Iverson and the Sixers. The Lakers would go on to win the next 4 games and go back-to-back as champions, truly solidifying the Shaq-Kobe Lakers as a team for the ages. The 2001 Lakers proved to be one of the most dominant teams in NBA history as they ended up going 15-1 in these playoffs. This was a truly historic run that not only highlighted the Lakers' dominance this season, but it also shows just how incredible Allen Iverson was in 2001. Against all the odds, the fact that he was able to assign LA's one and only loss in these playoffs on the grandest of stages, the NBA Finals, is truly remarkable. Many put these 01 Lakers amongst the greatest teams in NBA history, along with the 86 Celtics, the 96 Bulls, the 2013 Miami Heat, and the 2017 Warriors. The 01 Lakers featured a still dominant as ever Shaq, the ultra-talented, ruthless, and young Kobe, and a steady core of shooters, defenders, and playmakers. I got the 01 Lakers over any team in NBA history. Who you got?